I don't know who else would be on that line, but maybe that's your third line. Maybe Lawton's up the middle and Waugh and Joshua on the wing. And that's your identity kind of third line that Berube's been looking for. If that's the case, I'm not sure what the fourth line would look like. But from Vancouver's standpoint, I'm going to get to my rankings here halfway through July. The Canadian teams ranked 1 through 7. Their offseason has been tough. I mean, Rick, it started really with Rick Tocchet saying, thanks, but no thanks, I'm out of here. I'd rather go to Philly. So Adam Foote ends up, moving up, assistant coach into the head coaching role. This Quinn Hughes stuff, they just can't, they're never going to escape it. What is his future going to look like? Is it just inevitable he's going to team up with his brothers? And if so, we all know it's likely to be in Jersey. It's not going to be in Vancouver. So that's going to lead to a lot of anxiety. The Elias Pettersson story, what does he look like once he gets there? Now, they got Besser back, which I think was a win for them. When he's healthy, he's a good player, could score goals.
Big win.
That was a surprise. Yeah, that was a surprise. But now you've traded Joshua for nothing. Where is Vancouver going here? What do they have up their sleeves that you're just dumping a player? Again, for a fourth-round pick, it's salary dump.
Yeah. They're not a better team without Dakota Joshua. It is a salary dump. They needed the flexibility, so they must have something up their sleeve because, there was even talk that they were interested in moving on from Teddy Bluger, and on the surface, you're like, Teddy Bluger makes under $2 million, useful center iceman, kills penalties, blocks shots. So they're in the mindset of they're trying to do something maybe aggressive that they need a little more flexibility to do. So now they got 3.25 off their books in Joshua, and we'll see what they can do with it. But looking at that lineup today, they're not a better team without Joshua. Toronto's a better team with Joshua, and it's not it's not like they've got some monumental piece now, but they got a really good depth piece who plays a different style of game, who is going to fit a role and fill a need for them. So that should be considered a win for Toronto, especially considering the price that you paid to get him is only a fourth-round pick,
right?
In 3 years.
Yeah, I think just to follow up on that, I think what you're talking about, Frankie, is an upgrade. They upgraded their bottom six by getting this player. On the flip side, Vancouver, I think we've got to give them a break. I think that they believe Evander Kane is an upgrade on
Joshua, which is true. If Kane's healthy, that's valid, 100%.
Yeah, so the money isn't that much different. I think it's $1 million. Is it $2 million different? I think Evander's at $5 million, maybe. Dakota's at $3 million. I think Evander can score more goals. I think that he's more of a hard guy to play against consistently over his career than Dakota has been. So I think there's an upgrade there. But the problem is you want to have more than one player like that. We talked about that earlier, right? So Connor Garland, I love him, but he's a very small player, and he can chirp and get into people's faces, but he's not physically dominating people, even though he's a hard player to play against. So be interesting what comes next, but I do think this is Kane in, Dakota out.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they acquired Kane really for nothing either, because they didn't need any money. That was Edmonton just wanted out of the salary, and they did that. So that has, I guess, has been evident here. If you have money to play with, you can take advantage of teams that are looking to get rid of players who have value, but they just know they can't have them anymore based on the numbers crunch, which again is unique to Toronto. Because they're never in a position to do this.
No kidding.
Over the last handful of years, they've never been able to just pluck a guy because he's available. They've never had the money to do it or flexibility to do it. But they've also, again, from a Leaf perspective, filled up a lot of that flexibility. Michelli's, what is Michelli making? $4 million or something like that?
Michelli's he's at 3.4.
Okay,
Michelli.
So he's at 3.4. Nicholas was at 3, and Josh was at 3.25. So, between the three of them, you're talking almost $10 million, 9.5.
Yeah,
that's a lot of the 11 million Marner going out. They've effectively filled with those three guys.
Well, and if you look at the Leafs on Puckpedia, right, you have two guys, one makes 13.2, one makes 11.5. Then it goes down to Nyes at 7, and there's I'm just talking about the forwards. Morgan Riley's also a $7 million player, but there's no one in the 6s, there's no one in the 5s, then it goes down to the 4s. So there's still they're still trying to repair this cap structure so that they could make it a little more gradual and it doesn't just fall off a cliff, but it still does. It's just you can't do that in 1 year, even though Marner's gone and now Tavares is off at 11 and he's in the low 4s. It's going to take time for them to really get that nice, even, gradual cap structure where you can have a couple $6 million players on your books.
Right. And those guys have value too, right? Like, those are good players. You're not getting them for a 4th-round pick. If you want to get a guy who's making 6 or 7 and is worthy of that contract or can exceed it based on his production. But yeah, I mean, I think from a Leaf perspective, I doubt this is a finished product. But as of now, we know, Nyes, Matthews, Michelli, Domi, Tavares, Nylander are going to play. Joshua's going to play. Waugh's going to play. Lawton's going to play. And then you got McMahon, Lorentz, Robertson, Yarncroke, Camp, possibly Easton Cowan up front, like battling it out to see how else, the 2 or 3 other spots that are available in the lineup every night. That's for Berube to figure out, I guess, and once you get to camp. And then if you acquire anybody else, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe this is an acceptance from the Leafs that it's not going to happen over the summer. They're going to have to wait until the trade deadline to try to acquire somebody else. And, they don't have that many assets. They don't have a ton of picks moving forward either.
I've been thinking about a conversation the other day about the D-men, and frankly, I'd like to get your insight on that. There's no doubt that the 60 that the Leafs have are good. They're good at what they do. I think they need to add something different. So could we see a hockey trade? And I don't know which one's going out, but a name that pops in my head, and just as an example, doesn't have to, but a Shane Gothenspiel, a guy that moves the puck, transports the puck. Like, again, it doesn't have to be him, but that's the vision in my head, Frankie, of what I think they need to pair with someone else. Again, it doesn't have to be that player, but just moving the puck beside someone who's a little bit more stay-at-home to get that puck going up the ice quicker to those forwards.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. And you know what's crazy about that, Struddy, is the Leafs could have had Shane Gostisbehere the last 3 or 4 years. Like, he's been on 1-year tickets, right? Like, he was on a 1-year ticket with Detroit and then Carolina, and it's like those guys. It felt like Toronto had that already, and they were like, we need the tree trunks. We need the guys that Vegas had because we got to clog things up a little bit more. And now if you look at it, it's like you got Tanev, McCabe, good shutdown pair. Carlo O'Reilly. Well, you added the big presence with your puck mover, and then OEL and Benoit. I look at it and I'm like, OEL's on the 3rd pair. He was on the 3rd pair in Florida when they won. So chances are he's slotted right. So I get what you're saying about having a guy who's like a slick puck mover, but it feels like they've almost tried to like overcompensate for thinking that way for so long that they just said we need to try and get the mutants, and it's tough to get those guys. But yeah, like, why not have someone who breaks the puck out pretty well? What about the power play this year? Like, Mitch Marner was running the